Hello and welcome to another behind the scenes in Sea of Thieves. Today I'm joined by senior designer Andrew Preston and design director Mike Chapman, and we are talking all about Tall Tales. So what is Tall Tales?
Well, I think if we go back to the vision of Sea of Thieves, of players creating stories together, a big thing for us was creating a multiplayer game that could be someone's first multiplayer game. It could change perceptions of what multiplayer could really be. The last great barrier was allowing to tell story in a shared world, allowing you to feel the feelings that you feel when you play a traditional kind of story game, but doing that in a Sea of Thieves way in a shared world. And I think for us, Tall Tales is that Sea of Thieves stamp on it. It's the feelings that you'd feel in a story, but it happening against this backdrop of a shared world where anything can still happen.
Tall Tales brings in story to Sea of Thieves, but why is story important?
The Sea of Thieves world is full of these opportunities where different things can combine, and you can feel like you've had moments that you've never had in another game. You have memories you're never going to forget. But I think the opportunity with story is to centre in on particular emotions. And when we were building Tall Tales, I mean, the original names for the stories were around emotions and feelings. We had a tale of wonder and a tale of love. It's very much about giving people specific feelings. That's the vision for us. But I think just from a player's perspective, if you know more about the world, the reason why things are the way they are, what character motivations are, why that shipwreck is there, I think it allows players to role play more effectively in the world. So it's entirely additive to that core vision of player creating stories, because now you're in a world where you can truly get lost in it and truly feel immersed, because it feels like this cohesive place.
Yeah, we really went deep on that as well. We had a bunch of stuff in the expanded universe that we wanted to further explain and kind of solidify within Tall Tales, but also we had a bunch of things that were already kind of on existing islands already that were just kind of placed in there. Now they have kind of distinct backstories to them that you'll find out as a result of playing through Tall Tales.
We really went for this, right? Like, we wanted to tell the quintessential Sea of Thieves pirate story. You know, capture that spirit of adventure, the idea that there's this lost island out there in the Devil's Shroud, and by engaging with characters and completing these different stories in the world, you can get there yourself. And I think that really captures that adventure, Indiana Jones feel that sits so well with the Sea of Thieves world.
So when we thought about story and we thought about how we wanted to build this out, what were some of the tools to make it like a rich gameplay experience?
If you think about what we've got now with Voyages, you've got this entirely procedural system. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got what we experimented with like over the last year with The Hungry and Deep and Cursails, where it's entirely authored. And with Tall Tales, I think we quickly realised that we wanted to be somewhere in the middle. We wanted some things to always play out the same. So if you're going to go visit a shipwreck, we want that shipwreck to always be there. So if you're not on a Tall Tale and you're playing the game, you can go, that shipwreck over there, that's part of that story and it's got part of that lore, and you feel like you've learnt about the world. But we also want elements of the tale to play out differently. So the exact puzzle you receive or the exact island you go, there are things that can change. So we're trying to strike that really nice balance between authored elements and procedural elements. And we've kind of made that choice based on what better serves the narrative.
We started looking at things like cutscenes and voiceover as well to try and get them in and make it feel more authored. We have kind of combat dialogue with skeletons when you're fighting these new types of skeletons that we have in the game as well. So they say different lines based on their moves they're doing and everything. So it's a lot more visceral experience, a lot more authored experience.
So I think when we talk about cutscenes, it's a great example of what's really challenging about telling a story in a shared world, because what you never want to do is kind of take control away from players. You now go visit a character and they've got a little Tall Tale book. So the actual Tall Tale itself is a physical object and you vote on that book. And when obviously your crew have agreed to do a tale, the character will then introduce the tale, in a very kind of immersive way. And you're free to move around, you're free to walk away, but if you stay there, they're going to deliver the kind of framing for that story and kind of get you excited for what you're about to play. And
to help with the variety of things that players are doing within these tales themselves, we obviously invested a bunch of time into like brand new gameplay mechanics that players are going to experience. We wanted the kind of the quest books to change between each tale so that each one had a distinct look and a distinct feel. Obviously, the emotions change per tale as well as part of this one cohesive narrative, but then we actually wanted the actual moment-to-moment gameplay that players play between tales to be very varied.
Mechanically, we also want to introduce things as part of the story that then enrich that shared world and really tap into the power of simple mechanics rather than combining in different ways. So we realised early on that we wanted to deliver quest objects for players. And of course, the best way to do that in the Sea of Thieves world is a chest. that you can open for the first time. You can actually open a chest in Sea of Thieves. And the power of that is not only do you get that moment of opening the chest and you've got a couple of objects that you need for that tale, but you can then use that chest as a tool. So in the Sea of Thieves world now, you can go around, you can go on bounty missions, you can put 3 skulls in the chest, you can close the lid, and you can carry it around.
So we think about Tall Tales in a shared world. What were some of the challenges we had there with designing that?
I think some of the biggest challenges were around how we can leverage the fact that it's a shared world and make that play to our advantage in terms of crews coming together, alliances forming and going on these quests together, but also how we kind of manage that in a shared world. For example, we have ancient puzzle vaults that have kind of been laid dormant on the islands before. And we found very early on that just through kind of paper prototyping that if everyone on the server played that quest at the same time and they all got to that point in the quest at the same time and they all went there, that kind of puzzle vault would become contested. So we actually created multiple puzzle vaults per region to ensure that if players were going on the same tales at the same time, then we can kind of allocate these puzzle vaults to a crew so that they can go there and have their experience that's kind of their experience. And other crews can go to a different puzzle vault. So the players are kind of split apart within the world to go and have their kind of experiences. But at any point, obviously, players can come back together within that shared world and have unique stories as part of their tall tales.
Just on a structural level, every time you play a tale, you might get a different sequence of puzzles. You might be sent to different islands. And that's on top of just the stuff you get for being in a shared world. The next time you go to the island, it could be in a storm, the fog could roll in. But just the puzzles that you served up could offer you a new kind of gameplay challenge. And reward-wise, we want to reward players with special rewards that feel like they're part of the story. So you might get specific cosmetic items that feel like they're part of the narrative you've just played. And then above all of that, every time you play the tale, you'll also get gold. So there's always a core reason to replay a story and experience it in different ways.
And it's worth mentioning, right, that Tall Tales is not a time-limited thing. This will live on in the world for anyone to do at any point. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. This is going to be there permanently. Permanent fixture of the Sea of Thieves world. They'll always be there. I can always replay them at any point.
And it's a great way for players to get introduced to the world of Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I think like Shores of Gold, that first narrative, that's the quintessential Sea of Thieves story that we really want to tell. But Tall Tales is really a platform. It's really a platform for us to keep adding these stories to the world. All of that is going to stay there forever. So, you know, each time you come back, there's going to be those new stories to go and experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that insight. And I'm sure everyone is super excited to get their hands on this epic adventure that is Tall Tales when it releases as part of the anniversary update on April 30th. Cheers. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, if you liked what you saw, then there's a wealth of content already on our channel and there's lots more to come, so subscribe and click that little ship's bell for all those notifications. Cheers.